I know what it feels like when life takes everything out of you, when the doors you thought were open slam shut, when the calls don't come, when the people you trusted walk away. I know what it feels like to be broken. People see the success, the movies, the awards, the speeches, but they don't see the years of rejection, the countless auditions that ended with a no, the nights of doubt where I questioned if I was even on the right path. Life broke me more times than I can count. But here's what I learned: being broken isn't the end. In fact, it's the beginning. Because the breaking point is the turning point. That's where you discover what you're really made of. When I was young, I didn't have everything figured out. I wasn't the guy you see today. I was uncertain, searching and stumbling. I got into trouble. I was directionless, and there were people who wrote me off. I had no blueprint, no guarantee that I would ever amount to anything. And when you're in that place, when life breaks you down to your core, you have two choices. You can stay down or you can rise. And when you rise, you don't rise as the same person. You rise stronger, sharper, wiser. I remember the moments when I failed, when I thought I had nailed an audition only to be rejected, when I poured my heart into something and it didn't work out. That sting of rejection can crush you if you let it. It can convince you that you're not good enough, that you'll never make it. But I realized those moments weren't there to bury me. They were there to beg me. Every no was shaping me, toughening me, preparing me for the yes that would one day change my life. I had to accept that failure wasn't my enemy. It was my teacher. The breaking wasn't there to destroy me. It was there to strip weight that didn't belong so the real me could come alive. When life breaks you, you see who you really are. When the lights are off and no one's cheering, when no one believes in you, do you still get up? Do you still put in the work? Do you still carry faith in your heart when everything around you says quit? That's the test. That's where character is built. People don't become strong when everything is easy. Strength is born in the fire. Greatness is born in struggle. And if you're willing to endure the breaking, if you're willing to walk through the pain instead of running from it, you'll come out on the other side unshakable. I've lived long enough to know that life is going to hit you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But every hit you take, every time you fall, every moment that feels like the end, it's a chance to rebuild. And when you rebuild, you don't start from zero, you start from experience. You carry the lessons, the wisdom, the resilience you didn't have before. You carry the scars as proof that you survived, and those scars become your strength. The turning point in my life came when I decided that being broken was not going to define me. I wasn't going to let rejection be the final word. I wasn't going to let failure be my permanent address. I was going to rebuild, brick by brick, day by day, with faith in my heart and discipline in my hands. And what I discovered is this: when you rebuild yourself, you don't just rebuild for the present, you rebuild for the future. You lay down a foundation so strong that no storm can take you out. So when life breaks you, don't run from it. Don't curse it. Don't let it convince you that it's the end. Use it. Use the pain, the rejection, the failure, the loneliness. Use it all as fuel to build something greater. Because the breaking point isn't where your story ends, it's where your story begins. And if you're willing to rise, if you're willing to rebuild, your future will be stronger than anything you lost. There was a time in my life when the future didn't look like it had much promise. I was a young man who didn't know where I was going, didn't know if I had what it takes, didn't even know if there was something waiting for me out there. And when you're in that place, it's easy to believe that your present pain is the only truth you'll ever know. But here's what I learned. Sight shows you what's in front of you, but vision shows you what's ahead of you. And if you're going to rebuild yourself for the future, you can't depend only on sight, because sight will tell you it's impossible, that you're stuck, that there's no way forward. You've got to lean on vision, because vision whispers that something greater is coming, that every step you take now is shaping the tomorrow you can't see yet. I remember being told no more times than I can count. I went to auditions where I gave everything I had and still walked out with nothing but rejection. And when that door slams in your face, when they tell you you're not good enough, not the right fit, not what they're looking for, it cuts. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when the present pain tries to convince you to give up. But here's the thing. Your vision has to be stronger than the rejection. Your belief in where you're headed has to outweigh the reality of where you are. I held on to the vision that one day, somehow, all those no's would add up to the one yes that would change everything. You see, when life breaks you, it doesn't just take pieces away. It gives you a choice. You can stare at the rubble of what's lost, or you can start imagining what can be built from it. Vision is imagination with direction. Vision tells you that you are more than what's happening right now. And I had to keep telling myself, this moment doesn't define me. This rejection doesn't end me. This pain doesn't stop me. I had to look beyond it, even when the evidence wasn't there. Because rebuilding yourself for the future is about trusting that every small step forward matters, even when it doesn't feel like progress. When I was younger, my mother told me, Denzel, you may not know what's ahead, but God knows. And if you walk by faith, the path will open. That stayed with me. Faith and vision go hand in hand. Vision lets you see a future you can't touch yet, and faith gives you the courage to keep walking toward it. I didn't know then that my path would lead me to acting, to films, to standing on stages around the world. All I had was the vision that I was meant to do something greater than the situation I was in. And that was enough to keep me moving one uncertain step at a time. There were days when I doubted myself so much I didn't even want to try. But then I'd remind myself that quitting guarantees failure, while trying gives you a chance to rise. Vision doesn't remove the obstacles. It just makes them worth facing. It makes the pain of discipline easier to carry than the pain of regret. I would rather fail chasing a vision than succeed at doing nothing. And that's the mindset you need if you want to rebuild for the future. Every success you see in my life today started as a vision. It started in my mind long before it showed up in reality. And it wasn't clear. It wasn't detailed. It was just a sense that there was something out there with my name on it. So I kept walking toward it. That's what I want you to understand. You don't have to see the whole road ahead. You just need to trust that the road exists, that it's leading you somewhere worth going, and that every step you take in faith is part of the rebuilding process. The present pain you're going through right now, the struggles, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, they're not the final chapter. They're just the training ground, the preparation for what's coming. If you can hold on to the vision of who you want to become, if you can picture yourself stronger, wiser, more resilient, then every rejection, every failure will not break you. It will build you. The future belongs to those who can see it before it arrives and believe it enough to keep moving forward. And if you can do that, if you can hold on to vision when sight tells you to give up, then you'll rebuild yourself into someone unstoppable. Discipline is what carried me when nothing else could. People look at success and think it's talent, luck, or some gift that only a few have, But I'll tell you right now, talent without discipline will not take you far. Luck might get you in the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. I didn't get here because everything was handed to me. I got here because I was willing to work when nobody was watching, to prepare when no one was applauding, to keep showing up when it felt easier to quit. Discipline is the architecture of rebuilding your life, and I've lived that truth. I remember times when the phone didn't ring, when the auditions led to nothing, when rejection was louder than encouragement. In those seasons, I had a choice: either it let failure define me, or I could let discipline refine me. I chose the second. Every day I reminded myself that discipline is not punishment. It's the path. It's what molds the dream into reality. You cannot rebuild yourself for the future without structure. You cannot build greatness on weak foundations. Discipline lays the bricks one by one, day after day, until the wall is strong enough to stand the storms. There were mornings when I didn't feel like getting up, when everything in me said, take it easy, no one is watching. But that's the test right there. What do you do when no one is looking? Do you still put in the work, or do you wait for the spotlight? I decided early that I would prepare as if the opportunity was already on its way. Because the truth is, opportunity doesn't wait for you to get ready. It shows up without notice. And if you haven't disciplined yourself, you'll miss it. I can tell you, the roles I've been blessed with, the moments people celebrate today, they came because I was disciplined long before the world was paying attention. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't give you instant results. But what it does is build a foundation so solid that when life breaks you, you don't collapse completely. You bend, but you don't break apart. I've seen people with great talent fall because they lack the discipline to sustain it. I've seen people with great vision quit because they couldn't commit to the daily grind. And I've also seen ordinary men and women rise to extraordinary heights because discipline carried them farther than talent ever could. When you're rebuilding yourself for the future, you must understand that your habits are building you too. Every small decision, every sacrifice, every choice to stay consistent, it's carving out the future you say you want. Too many people want the reward without the work, the applause without the practice, the success without the sacrifice. But rebuilding demands discipline. It demands waking up earlier, staying later, focusing when distractions are loud, and refusing to give up when progress is slow. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Discipline also taught me patience. We live in a world that wants everything fast, everything now. But discipline slows you down, teaches you to wait, to prepare, to trust the process. I didn't know when the breakthrough would come. I didn't know which opportunity would be the one that changed everything. But I did know that if I kept showing up, if I kept doing the work, if I kept sharpening my craft, when the moment came, I would be ready. That's what discipline does. It prepares you for moments you cannot see. I learned to stop chasing motivation because motivation fades. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. But discipline is a decision. You don't need to feel like working to work. You don't need to feel inspired to take action. Discipline teaches you to move anyway, to act in spite of how you feel. That's how you rebuild. That's how you become stronger than your setbacks. That's how you shape a future that looks nothing like your past. If you want to rebuild yourself for the future, discipline is non-negotiable. It's not just about success. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle success. It's about strengthening your character, your mind, your spirit so that when the blessings come, you can carry them without crumbling. Discipline has been my teacher, my protector, and my guide. It turned my broken moments into building blocks. And I'm telling you, if you embrace it, discipline will do the same for you. There was a time in my life when I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I could become, and the voices around me almost defined my future more than my own faith did. You see, the people you surround yourself with can either be the hammer that builds you up or the wrecking ball that tears you down. I've lived long enough to know that not everyone who smiles at you wants to see you win. Not everyone who claps for you is clapping out of love. Some are clapping because they're waiting for the day you fall. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake those hands for support when really they're hoping for your failure. When I was starting out, I had friends, people I thought had my back, people I thought were proud of me. But when the auditions didn't go my way, when I was broke, when I was living in my mother's beauty shop, trying to figure out if I even belonged in this business, many of them disappeared. And that's when I learned something. The people who love you when you have nothing are the people who will help you when you've been broken. The others, they're just spectators in your struggle. And spectators don't build anything. They just watch. I've learned that the people you keep close to, you will influence the way you think, the way you believe, and the way you fight through your storms. If you surround yourself with people who constantly doubt, constantly complain, constantly speak fear, you will inherit their weakness. But if you surround yourself with people of vision, people of faith, people of discipline, their strength will start to become yours. That's why I tell people you can't just hang around anyone. If you want to rebuild yourself for the future, you need to be very selective with your circle, because your circle is either going to be your foundation or your downfall. When I was a young actor, I sought out people who were better than me, who worked harder than me, who carried themselves with excellence. Not because I was jealous, but because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be sharpened by greatness, not dulled by mediocrity. And every time I sat at the table with those kinds of people, I realized my own potential could stretch a little further. That's what real builders do. They don't just pat you on the back and say, "You're fine the way you are." They challenge you to become more, to think bigger, to stay focused when distractions are pulling you in every direction. But I'll tell you something, builders are rare. You'll meet 1,000 talkers, 100 dreamers, but very few builders. Builders are ones who believe in laying brick after brick, day after day, even when no one is watching. Builders don't discourage you. They don't envy you. They don't compete with you. They inspire you. And when life knocks you down, they don't step over you. They reach down and lift you back up. I remember one time, after a failed audition that I thought was my big break, I was ready to quit. I was frustrated, angry, tired of rejection. And there was a man who looked at me and said, "Don't you dare stop now. Don't you dare let one closed door make you forget the gift that God gave you." Those words stayed with me, and that man wasn't just a friend. He was a builder. He reminded me of who I was about to forget myself. And that's what builders do. They see the cracks in your foundation and help you reinforce them. So if you're trying to rebuild yourself for the future, I want you to ask yourself this: who's around you? Who speaks into your life? Who pushes you forward when you feel like going back? Because if you're surrounded by breakers, by people who gossip, by people who settle, by people who tell you it's too late, you're building on quicksand. But if you choose builders, people of faith, people of strength, people of vision, you'll find yourself standing taller than you ever imagined. The truth is, you don't need a crowd to rebuild. You just need the right few. A small circle of builders is worth more than a stadium full of doubters. And when you find those builders, hold on to them, honor them, and build with them. Because the future you're fighting for cannot be built alone. It takes faith, it takes discipline, and yes, it takes people who are willing to stand beside you when the walls come crashing down. That's how you rebuild for tomorrow. When I look back at my life, I can tell you one thing with absolute certainty: without faith, I wouldn't be standing here. People often see the movies, the awards, the speeches, the achievements, and they think that's the story. But the real story is in the unseen battles, the prayers whispered in the dark, the moments when it felt like I had nothing left to give. Faith has always been the cement that held me together when everything else was falling apart. You can build all the walls, you can draw all the plans, but if you don't have a foundation sealed with faith, it will all crumble the first time the storm comes. And life always brings storms. I remember when I was younger, nothing seemed certain. I didn't have clarity. I didn't have direction. The road ahead was blurry, and there were times I wondered if I would ever find my way. But even then, something deep inside me told me that there was more, that I wasn't here by accident. That voice, that unshakable belief, was faith. It didn't come from what I could see with my eyes. It came from what I could feel in my spirit. And when rejection came, when doors were slammed in my face, when I thought I had reached the end, that faith kept reminding me, this is not the end of your story. You see, rebuilding yourself isn't just about effort. It isn't just about discipline or work ethic. Yes, those matter, but they will only take you so far. There comes a point where your strength runs out. There comes a point where your effort feels empty. And that's when faith carries you the rest of the way. I've had times in my career where I prepared, I worked, I gave everything I had, and the outcome still didn't go my way. I didn't get the role, I didn't get the opportunity, I didn't see the breakthrough. In those moments, faith reminded me that rejection isn't destruction, it's redirection. God was moving me towards something I couldn't yet see. The truth is, without faith, you'll rebuild your life only to watch it fall again. But with faith, every time life tries to knock you down, you come back stronger. Because faith doesn't mean life won't get hard. Faith means you'll have the strength to endure it. It means you'll trust the process, even when you don't understand it. And when you stand on that kind of foundation, nothing, no failure, no loss, no setback can permanently break you. I've stood in rooms where I didn't belong, at least not according to the world. I've faced situations where people doubted me, judged me, tried to measure my worth by what they could see. But I knew something they couldn't see. I knew that as long as God was with me, no man's opinion could stop me. That's faith. That's the cement that kept me grounded. People will tell you to rely on talent, on skill, on connections. But all of that fades. Faith is the only thing that lasts. When you decide to rebuild yourself for the future, is what makes that rebuilding permanent. It gives meaning to your scars. It takes your pain and turns it into purpose. And when you finally step into your breakthrough, when the success comes, when the world finally sees what you were building all along, you'll know it wasn't just you. You'll know that it was faith guiding your hands, steadying your steps, keeping your heart alive when everything in you wanted to give up. So if you're at a place right now where life has broken you, where you feel like your dreams are scattered pieces on the floor, don't panic. Don't quit. Start rebuilding, but don't rebuild alone. Anchor your foundation in faith. Pray through it. Believe through it. Trust through it. Because storms will come again, and when they do, it won't be your strength that keeps the walls from falling. It'll be your faith. And when you look back years from now, You'll realize that the cement you used to hold your future together wasn't money, wasn't fame, wasn't opportunity, it was faith. It was always faith.